Hi, today I'm going to be playing the role of a practicum student in a graduate program. And,
I will be playing the counselor.
okay, so today I wanted to come in and just kind of talk about something that's been bothering me. When I started my current program, I was really excited. And I've since become a little disheartened with certain aspects. There are things that I still love, but it's this practicum experience has been kind of like equal parts illuminating and frustrating. Um, you know, Specifically the issue of appropriate indirect activities. I don't know how much you know about our field, but we need 50% indirect hours and 50% direct hours. Mm-hmm. So just in the shuffle of beginning a brand new site, we've had a lot of trouble kind of making sure that we're doing appropriate things, for indirect hours.
Tell me more about that.
Well, like for example, one of the first days that I had to complete indirect hours on site, I was asked to put together binders for our summer camp students, which is helpful, but it's not, our indirect tasks are supposed to help us train to be more effective behavior analysts. Mm-hmm. And while I don't mind helping out, I had a really, I felt frustrated, and mm-hmm. I didn't know, I couldn't think of an appropriate way to kind of bring it up tactfully, but still, kind of constructively to where it would change in a manner that kind of helped everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like you feel frustrated because you feel like the indirect tasks that you're given are not going to assist you in becoming an effective behavior analyst.
Yeah, I think that is what's going on, and it kind of scares me because I don't have anything to compare it to. This is the first time I've been in a situation like this, and I guess I'm just looking for, is there a way, like a method to bring that up to someone and be like, hey, I'm not sure that this is right, but I don't want to alienate my supervisor and mm-hmm. make her feel, because she's new too in her role, so mm-hmm. it's entirely possible that it's just oversight, pure, simple, like innocent mistake.
So you're unsure if the experience that you're having is typical of a day in the life, basically.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't really know. I've spoken to other. Whoops. Hang on. Okay, we're back. I've spoken to other students in the program, and it just seems like everyone's experience has been so unique. There are certain things in common, but for example, this issue with indirect hours, other people have been observing, and so those count as indirect hours, but they're getting paid for that. So that's a whole nother can of worms, mm-hmm. At my site, we're not paid for our indirect hours, so there's almost a built-in sense of frustration, mm-hmm. like when you're there, especially knowing what other people are receiving.
Well, and it sounds like you're feeling that it's unfair and that you're not having as great an experience as your classmates.
Yeah, I guess in my own mind I've been trying to avoid the word unfair, just because, that's life a lot of times. You don't always have control over the hand you're dealt, and I completely understand that, and I'm sure every single site has strengths and weaknesses, but I'm trying to think of a word other than unfair. Inequitable maybe, or
okay.
Unfair, just I don't know why I have such a reaction to that word, but unequal experiences, divergent experiences. Really, whether I get paid now or not is, less important than that. This time allows me adequate training so that mm-hmm. when I enter the field and I'm applying for positions, I can be competitive.
You want to make sure that you have a wide range of experiences
Yes.
and make sure that you're fully prepared for the future job that you're about to do.
Yeah, and you just made a great point, wide variety. Like, yes, that's exactly it. And so that kind of dovetails into a second issue that I'm having whereby, right now I have one client that I see 2 times a week. And, that's one age group, one kind of set of goals. I mean, the goals are diverse. But, that kind of worries me too. And, the other thing is, like, maybe I'm just being kind of, like, over concerned. Because, it's only been 3 weeks. It's early days. We're still kind of figuring things out. But on the other hand, I suppose there have just been some, like, red flags where I feel, I want to be hopeful. On good days, I'm hopeful. And I'm like, okay, that was a good day. This went really well. I felt excited. There's hope. And then there are the bad days where I'm just like, oh gosh, this for 3 more semesters, and I just feel very disheartened. But yeah, I guess
it sounds like you're almost confused and conflicted in a lot of ways. You're experiencing a wide range of emotions.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I almost just wish that there was some sort of a website where I could go and just Google, the standard practicum experience. And maybe there would be a checklist and I could just kind of go down and there was some like objective way to measure but I talked to one of the professors in my program about it and she kind of indicated, well, that's what the BACB task list is for.
Okay. So there is a standard or a guideline that you could follow.
Sort of, yeah, for tasks. And so, I printed that out and I've been kind of going down and checking them off. And here's where I get confused because, I'm checking them off and every week I write these, the tasks that we've accomplished on this weekly supervision sheet, which my supervisor then signs off on. And I can see where some of the activities meet these requirements.
Okay.
But it's almost like I got thrown into the deep end and I'm like just doggy paddling. So I don't know if I'm like, okay, yeah, I did the task. Like I measured duration, but no one was like, here's the best way to measure duration, or here are some really like good practical ways to take a frequency count. And maybe some of that's my fault. I'm not assertive enough. I haven't sat down with my supervisor and said, I need some guidance about these specific things. Because, it's always easier just to kind of rant and rave in your own head than it is to kind of be proactive about it.
So you started a new position and you really haven't been trained.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what happened. And sometimes that's okay, like you kind of learn on the fly, but it is kind of strange to not have like shadowed a behavior technician. So
Okay.
like I've never worked with really, really young children, and like there were just some things I didn't know how to do. I mean, how when it came time to feed the child lunch, I presented the food the same way like you would for a much older child, I would imagine. Like I just kind of set out the food. Well, it turned out that while he, does like eating noodles, he doesn't know how to really eat the noodles with a fork. So that was kind of like a shock to me, and that was obviously something that I didn't think through. I thought, oh, his fine motor skills are good. I've seen him use a utensil, but then I realized I'd made an assumption. I'd never seen him use a utensil. He'd just been reaching for things with his fingers. And that's kind of what happened with the pasta. It was a mess. I mean, he just reached his whole hand and was kind of like shoveling it into his mouth. And so I had to like kind of back it up and be like, okay, wait, clean off his hands and then feed him. But some sort of a basic, like, hey, here are some things to consider when, like when you're working with like bitty kids. I suppose I could have done research on my own, but I had like all of, you know, a few hours of notice before it was like, oh, here's your new client. He's 2.
Yeah, I could imagine it's much different to work with smaller children compared to older children.
Yeah, yeah. Both groups have kind of different. I mean, just like anything else in life, I suppose, like pros and cons. Like certain things are way easier, certain things are way harder. But I guess what I keep coming back to is that, you know, I haven't ever provided behavior analytic services to anybody. So there's, you know, a kind of novelty about this job, and that's scary.
Yeah. You're really concerned about your inexperience and how that's affecting your job performance.
Yeah.
Especially with the lack of supervision. You might be more comfortable if you had more training.
Yeah, like it's like, I feel like supervision has like kind of a specific definition. Maybe what I'm needing is like more structure.
Okay.
You know, even like just more,
Like modeling and guidance.
Yeah.
Demonstration.
That's it. Yeah. So like even something as simple as a suggested schedule of how to spend the 6-hour block of therapy time.
Okay.
Something like that where I could kind of like, okay, for the first hour we're gonna do gross motor, jumping, you know, running, that sort of, just some sort of guidance, so it's not like
You're winging it.
Yeah, or like me and a kid kind of staring at each other for 4 hours, you know, and then there's like the terrible diaper change. But yeah, you know, and supervision is helpful, but like I feel like almost in these early stages where I don't really know what I'm doing, it almost makes me anxious to have someone watching. Because like, what if they're, you know, supervising me or like providing this direct feedback, but I just suck, and they're like, wow, you really suck, and like I may just get disheartened and like maybe I never improve. Whereas like if there was a little bit more structure, like, you know, the same way we do with our kids, like say do like me, like maybe I need that from like someone who's
like that level of constructive feedback for somebody to tell you, okay, you're doing this right, but you still need to work on X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Have you thought about bringing these concerns up to your supervisor and asking for more direct assistance?
You know, I have. I kind of started just an informal list for myself. And not just things I didn't like. I was trying to be constructive in the list that I created to where I could make, you know, like, I had trouble with this particular thing. This is information that I need in order to be more effective.
Okay.
And like some of the stuff is,
It's still going.
Okay. Sorry, low battery message. Oh gosh, what was I saying? Oh, some of the stuff is really simple. Like on the first day that I worked with my client, I didn't even know where things were in the clinic. Like I didn't know where.
Because it's a new environment.
Yeah, so I didn't know how to kind of guide my client through the activities and.
Because you don't really know what's available in the setting.
Right.
You don't feel acclimated.
And yeah, like I didn't know there was a dress-up station. I didn't know there was a cabinet full of board games. I didn't know that there were, you know, letters or like matching tasks and things like that. So it was just daunting, and I almost, you know, freaked out a little because it's like, you know, how they say animals can smell fear. I feel like kids can too. So I was trying to be like really calm, and you know, I wasn't sure if my client was going to be upset because mom, you know, dropped him off and then left, and he is 2. Maybe he's never really been away from mom. So just things like that, where it was like, you know, like
a lot of little things that kind of add up.
Yeah, and you know, just the exhaustion of 6 straight hours with a kid.
It's a long day.
You know, it really is, especially when you've not done that in a while.
Yeah, I'm sure it's much more physical. than
Yeah.
what you might have been used to.
It is more physical, and it's really mental too, because you have to stay one step ahead, you know, because they have, you know, their attention span, and they're gonna kind of run out of it, and you have to have an idea of what to do next, which is just like super stressful. All right.
Okay, well, I think for next time we can get together and come up with a guideline to work on some of these concerns. If you can talk to your supervisor about some of the things that we talked about, and then come back and let me know how it goes, we'll reassess from there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks for being a sounding board.